President Obama releasing this video ahead of what could be his biggest crackdown yet on domestic energy production. Watch.
Power plants are the single biggest source of the harmful carbon pollution that contributes to climate change. But until now, there have been no federal limits to the amount of that pollution those plants can dump into the air. Think about that. For the sake of our kids, for the health and safety of all Americans, that's about to change.
The president's new plan, which is set to roll out tomorrow, will require power plants to cut carbon emissions by more than a third by 2030. So what is this going to mean for you? Joining us now is the host of Sunday Morning Features, our friend Maria Bartiromo. Maria, it's great to see you.
Hey, how are you doing?
The president says power plants are the single largest source of emissions. They're also the single largest source of human progress. So there is a balance here. What's the effect on consumers of this move?
We've already seen an effect from the last time the EPA came out with stricter rules and electricity prices went higher. What we're looking at is probably among the most sweeping new rulemaking that has hit the coal industry, the oil industry, all of the transportation companies, the rails and the airlines. They will face higher expenses, higher costs, and no doubt will pass that on to the consumers. So that will likely mean higher electricity prices, higher prices for consumers. And by the way, you're still talking about industries that are very much squeezed. The coal industry has seen such upset because of increased regulations and a host of other efforts to go toward clean coal that many of them are already bankrupt, on the verge of bankruptcy. So we could see consolidation, bankruptcies, and again, that adds to the consumer because at the end of the day, something's got to give. The consumer will likely pay.
Have you ever met a single person who's for this who's not a rich liberal? It does seem like a species of class warfare. I mean, the great bulk of the country cares about energy prices because they're not rich.
That's right. I think many people who are facing the sort of the backlash of this whole movement are the companies that are the job creators and the ones that are actually creating employment opportunities. So what you're going to see is that group see more pressure, and that group have to do something, probably push back in the form of higher prices for consumers. So at the end of the day, there are no free lunches. You know, somebody's got to pay the bills here. And so it will probably be the consumers in the form of higher electricity prices.
So speaking of someone paying the bills, there's a long New York Times takeout this morning on a CEO of a credit card processing company in Seattle who raised his minimum wage voluntarily at his company to $70,000. And there have been all kinds of unintended consequences from this. How's it worked out?
Well, it hasn't worked out well at all for the owner of that business. He's actually renting out his personal home so that he could raise money for himself because he's being squeezed so much. This is unfortunate because this is actually an example of what happens when you just come up with a random number to raise everybody's salaries so that you feel like you're doing good for people. But in fact, it's not fair. It's not pay for performance. I want to read you one quote from one of the employees who actually quit because he was so upset by it. He said, a top employee quit, said, now the people who were just clocking in and out were making the same as me. It shackles high performers to less motivated team members. In other words, those guys and gals who are working hard, not just clocking in 9 to 5, they're actually now seeing their pay at a discount to others' pay who rose to $70,000. The bottom line is he lost employees, he lost customers. Some of the customers left because they said, you know what, I don't want to be working with a company that's actually making political statements.
This is the parable of the prodigal son.
Correct.
The son who stayed was man. Sunday Morning Features coming up at the top of the hour. I don't think I've ever missed the show. It's that good. If you miss it, you're crazy. So stay tuned for Maria and watch her weekdays every morning on Fox Business. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you so much.